pulse of him.
I didn't know he was a cop when I let him pin me against the bar's brick wall. If I had, I probably would have run. Or at least asked more questions. But that night, I wasn't thinking about consequences or red flags or anything beyond the way his hand felt warm and steady at my lower back, like he'd already decided I belonged there. It was a Tuesday, which should tell you everything. Tuesdays are for bad decisions disguised as one drink. I'd had a long day, my apartment felt too quiet, and the bar near my place had cheap whiskey and no expectations. I slid onto a stool, ordered something brown and strong, and told myself I'd be home by 10. Then Cole sat down 2 seats away. He didn't look like trouble at first. Just solid. Dark hair, broad shoulders, relaxed confidence. The kind of guy who didn't scan the room because he already knew where he fit in it. He caught me looking, lifted his glass slightly in acknowledgement, and that was it. No cheesy line. No performance. "You look like you're thinking too hard," he said after a minute. I laughed despite myself. "That obvious?" "Only because I do the same thing." We talked like people who weren't trying to impress each other. Music, bad jobs, the city. He listened, really listened, and when he smiled, it felt earned. Somewhere between my second drink and his fingers brushing my wrist, the night tilted. When he leaned in closer to hear me over the music, I smelled soap and something clean underneath it. I remember thinking how unfair it was that he felt so easy. Outside, the air was cool and sharp. He followed me without asking, like it was already decided. When he backed me gently against the wall, his body close but not pressing, I felt my breath hitch. His voice dropped. "Tell me if this isn't okay." "It's okay," I said, and meant more than just that moment. The kiss was slow. Controlled. Like he was holding something back on purpose. His hand stayed firm at my waist, grounding, respectful, but it still sent heat straight through me. I didn't notice the way he scanned the street once, quick and automatic. I didn't notice the calm vigilance in his eyes. Back at my place, clothes stayed on longer than expected. We talked on my couch, knees touching, the tension stretching deliciously thin. When things finally crossed that line, it was all muffled breaths and censored moments I won't spell out, but trust me, it was intense. Focused. Like he knew exactly when to slow down, when to wait. After we lay there in the dim light, my heartbeat still loud in my ears. He traced lazy circles on my arm, thoughtful. "You ever regret things right after they happen?" he asked. I smiled. "Only when they weren't worth it." He nodded, like he was filing that away. When he left later, he paused at the door, gave me a look I couldn't read, and said, "I'll see you around, Elliot." I didn't know how true that would be. Or how much it would matter once I learned who Cole Hale really was. The apartment felt different after he left. Not empty, charged. I stood there a while, replaying the night, already sensing a shift I couldn't name yet. Something had started. I just didn't know the rules. And maybe neither did he. I didn't expect to see him again so soon. 2 days later, I was standing in line at a coffee shop near my apartment, half awake, scrolling my phone, when a familiar voice said, "You always take your coffee black?" I turned, and there he was. Cole. Same calm presence, same steady eyes. This time he was in a fitted jacket, hair still neat, posture straight like his body didn't really understand slouching. My stomach did a stupid, immediate flip. "Yeah," I said. "Didn't realize I had an audience." He smiled, small and genuine. "Didn't mean to spy. Just noticed." We ordered together, fell into conversation like nothing had happened, or like everything had. There was a quiet awareness between us now, an undercurrent. When he laughed, it felt closer than before. When his arm brushed mine while we waited, it lingered half a second longer than accidental. We took our cups outside, leaned against the railing. Morning light made his features softer, less shadow than at night. He looked grounded. Reliable. That should have been my first clue. "So," I said, stirring my coffee, What do you actually do, Cole? The pause was brief. Too brief to mean nothing. I work downtown, he said. Long hours. Keeps me busy. I raised an eyebrow. That's vague. He chuckled. Occupational hazard. Something about that made me laugh, but it also lodged in my chest. I let it go. I was good at letting things go when I wanted someone. We walked a few blocks together before he stopped, hands in his pockets. You free tonight? I should have thought about it. I didn't. Back at my place, the mood was different this time, slower, heavier. We kissed like people who already knew where things could go. His hands were still careful, still controlled, but there was heat under it now. When things tipped into censored territory, it felt intense but restrained, like he was always measuring himself. After, he didn't rush out. We lay there, his arm draped over my chest, my head tucked under his chin. His breathing was steady, grounding. Safe. That word crept in uninvited. You ever feel like you live two versions of yourself? He asked quietly. I shifted, looking up at him. That sounds specific. He didn't smile this time. Maybe. I studied his face, the seriousness in his eyes. You don't have to tell me anything you don't want to. I know, he said. His thumb brushed my shoulder, absent-minded. I just don't like lying. That stuck with me long after he left again, just after midnight. When the door closed, the apartment felt quieter than it should have. Not lonely. Watchful. Later that week, I was walking home when sirens cut through the evening. A patrol car rolled past, lights flashing. For no real reason, my stomach tightened. I pictured Cole's posture, his calm vigilance, the way he'd scanned the street without thinking. A thought surfaced, unwelcome but persistent. Who are you, really? I told myself it didn't matter. We weren't serious. We were just two guys crossing paths. Still, when I fell asleep that night, I dreamed of badges glinting under streetlights, and woke with the uneasy sense that I was already standing in the middle of something I didn't fully understand. And somehow, despite that, I wanted to see him again. The reveal didn't happen the way movies make it look. No dramatic sirens. No shouted orders. Just me, standing on a cracked sidewalk outside my building a week later, watching Cole step out of a patrol car like it was the most normal thing in the world. My brain stalled. Full freeze. He hadn't seen me yet. He was talking to another officer, posture different now, sharper, more official. His jacket was gone, replaced with a uniform that fit him like it had always been waiting underneath. Badge catching the late afternoon light. Gun at his hip. My first thought was embarrassingly simple. Oh. My second thought came fast and ugly. Shit. He finally looked up and saw me. For a fraction of a second, the calm cracked. Not fear, recognition. Something like worry. He excused himself, crossed the street slowly, hands visible, like instinct had already taken over. Elliot, he said. Quiet. Careful. Cole, I replied, because apparently my mouth still worked. So, downtown, huh? He exhaled through his nose. Yeah. We stood there, the space between us suddenly crowded with everything he hadn't told me. I felt exposed in a way I couldn't explain, like I'd undressed without realizing someone was watching. I should have told you, he said. That you're a cop? I laughed once sharp. Yeah. Probably. I didn't know how, he said, and there was no excuse in it. Just fact. It changes things for people. It does, I admitted. My chest felt tight. You ever think maybe people deserve to choose? He nodded. Every day. Silence stretched. The city hummed around us. Finally, he asked, Can we talk? Somewhere neutral. I almost said no. Almost walked away. Instead, I nodded toward the corner cafe. We sat across from each other, coffee cooling between us. Without the intimacy, without the dim lights, I noticed things I hadn't before, the alertness in his eyes, the way his shoulders never fully relaxed. I'm not undercover, he said quietly. I'm not watching you. I don't get involved for work. That's good to know, I said, unsure if it actually helped. He met my gaze. Everything between us was real. I believed him. That scared me more than the badge. What do you want now? I asked. He didn't answer right away. When he did, it was honest. I want to keep seeing you. But only if you're okay knowing all of me. I stared into my cup, watching the surface settle. I thought about his restraint, his careful hands, the way he always asked. I thought about power and trust and how messy they could get when you pretended they didn't exist. I need time, I said finally. He nodded immediately. No argument. No pressure. Take it. When we stood to leave, he didn't touch me. Just gave me a look, open, vulnerable in a way I hadn't expected. Outside, he turned back toward the street, toward the uniform, toward that other version of himself. I watched him go, heart heavy but steady. That night, alone in my apartment, I replayed everything. The kisses. The secrets. The badge. I realized something quietly, without panic. I wasn't afraid of what he was. I was afraid of how much I wanted him anyway. And that felt like a beginning, whether I liked it or not. I tried not to think about him. That lasted 3 days. Everywhere I went, my brain filled in his absence like a missing tooth. The coffee shop where we'd run into each other. The sidewalk where I'd watched him step out of that patrol car. Even my couch felt different, like it remembered the weight of him. On the 4th day, I cracked. I didn't text him right away. I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I sent something stupidly simple. Me, can we talk? The reply came faster than my heart could handle. Cole, yes. Whenever you're ready. We met at a park by the river just before sunset. Neutral ground, like he'd asked for before. He was in plain clothes again, jeans, dark hoodie, but now I could see it. The way he stood where he could see the pads. The way his eyes tracked movement without him realizing. He didn't touch me when he greeted me. Just smiled, careful. I've been thinking, I said as we walked. So have I, he replied. I stopped near the railing, watched the water move. I need to say this out loud, or I'm going to keep pretending it doesn't matter. He waited. Didn't interrupt. You have power, I said. Not just the badge. The presence. The way people respond to you. And when I didn't know, it felt different. He nodded slowly. I get that. I don't think you used it on me. I continued. But I need to know you won't. Ever. He turned fully toward me then, face open, serious. I would never put you in that position. If you ever felt unsure, if you ever said stop, about anything, I'd walk away. No questions. I searched his eyes, looking for cracks. Found none. And if this gets complicated? I asked. He gave a small, sad smile. It probably will. That's not unique to cops. That made me laugh, quiet and unwilling. The tension eased just a fraction. We sat on a bench as the sky darkened. He told me more, nothing confidential, nothing dramatic. Just enough to fill in the shape of his life. Long shifts. Bad calls. The weight he carried home without meaning to. I like who I am with you, he said at one point, staring out at the river. Quieter. More human. That did something to my chest. When he walked me home, we stopped outside my building. The same spot where everything had blown open. He didn't move closer. Didn't assume. Do you want me to come in? He asked. I took a breath. Checked in with myself. With my body. With the quiet, steady pull that hadn't gone away. Yes, I said. But slow. He smiled. Relief, unmistakable. Slow. Inside, we sat together on the couch, knees touching, nothing rushed. When we kissed, it was gentler than before. Intentional. Everything stayed consensual, checked in, censored in the ways that matter. It felt less like heat and more like trust being built brick by brick. Later, when he left, he brushed his thumb against my hand, brief, asking, I let my fingers curl around his. Alone again, I didn't feel watched or unsure. I felt chosen. And choosing back. Whatever this was becoming, I knew one thing clearly as the night settled around me. I wasn't walking into danger. I was walking into something real. And this time, my eyes were open. Being seen with a cop is different than sleeping with one. I learned that the first time Cole met me after work, uniform still on, just to walk me home. We didn't touch. We barely stood close. And yet every head on the sidewalk turned anyway. It wasn't paranoia. It was real. People notice uniforms. People adjust themselves around them. Conversations dip. Shoulders stiffen. I felt it ripple outward, and for the first time, I understood what I'd been brushing up against without realizing. Cole clocked it instantly. "You okay?" he asked quietly, eyes forward. "I think so," I said. Then, more honestly, "I didn't know it felt like this." He nodded once. "Most people don't." We stopped outside my building. He kept his distance, like a line had been drawn in chalk between us. "I don't have to walk you like this," he said. "I don't want you feeling managed." I looked at him, really looked. At the way he was holding himself smaller than he actually was, like he was trying not to take up space. "I want to choose," I said. "That includes choosing when this is okay." Something eased in his shoulders. Over the next few weeks, we learned the shape of each other's boundaries. No uniforms inside my apartment. No showing up unannounced. No talking about work details, not because I didn't care, but because some parts of his world weren't mine to carry. In return, he learned my rhythms, how I shut down when I felt cornered, how silence sometimes meant processing, not pulling away. The passion was still there, simmering under the surface, censored but intense. Slower touches. Longer looks. The kind of heat that didn't need to be proved. One night, lying side by side, he said, "You know you can still walk away." "I know," I replied. "You keep giving me exits." "I mean it," he said. "I don't want you staying because it's easier than leaving." I turned onto my side, facing him. "Then don't disappear when it gets hard." He held my gaze. "I won't." That promise felt heavier than anything physical. The first time I saw him get called away mid-date, reality landed harder. His phone buzzed. He checked it once, face shifting instantly. Apologetic. Focused. "I have to go." I nodded, hiding disappointment I wasn't proud of. "Be safe." He paused, thumb brushing my knuckles, asking. I squeezed back, answering. After he left, I sat alone with cooling food and a city full of sirens. I didn't spiral. I didn't feel abandoned. I felt aware. Aware that loving someone like Cole meant accepting unpredictability. Accepting that his calm came from carrying things I might never fully see. Accepting that trust wasn't passive, it was an active, daily decision. Later, when he texted to say he was okay, relief washed through me so strong it surprised me. That night, lying in bed, I realized something quietly, without drama. I wasn't losing myself to him. I was learning how to stand next to someone without shrinking. And in the quiet that followed, that felt like its own kind of courage. The night everything shifted wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No flashing lights. No danger pressing in from the outside. It was quieter than that, which somehow made it heavier. Cole came over late, not in uniform, shoulders tight in a way I hadn't seen before. He didn't kiss me right away. Just stood in my doorway like he needed a second to remember how to be here. "Bad shift?" I asked. He nodded. "Long one." I stepped aside and let him in. We didn't go to the couch. We went straight to the kitchen, like normalcy could anchor us. I poured him water. He drank it too fast. "I need to tell you something," he said, setting the glass down carefully. Too carefully. My chest tightened. "Okay." He leaned back against the counter, eyes on the floor. "I was offered a promotion." I blinked. "That's good, right?" "Maybe." He looked up then. It'd move me into a unit that works closer with investigations. More visibility. More authority. The word hung there. Authority. And? I said softly. And I turned it down today. That surprised me enough that I didn't hide it. Why? Because it would change us, he said simply. And I didn't want to decide that without you. Something in me cracked open at that. Not fear, recognition. We sat on the floor, backs against the cabinets, knees touching. The conversation moved slowly, carefully, like stepping through glass. I won't pretend my job doesn't matter, he said, or that it won't always be part of the room. But I need you to know this. If staying with me ever feels like you're shrinking, I want you to leave. I don't want a version of you that's quieter just to fit my life. I swallowed. You know I'm not great at leaving. I know, he said gently. That's why I'm saying it. We didn't touch for a long moment. Then I leaned my head against his shoulder. He stayed still, let me choose the weight, the closeness. I don't feel small with you, I said. I feel steadier. But I need honesty. Even when it's uncomfortable. You'll always get that, he said. Even if it costs me things. That scared me. And grounded me. Later, in bed, everything stayed slow and censored and intentional. Heat without urgency. Trust without performance. When he pulled me close, it felt like a decision, not an instinct. After, we lay there in the dark, breathing in sync. You still glad you didn't know at first? I asked quietly. He considered it. I wish I'd told you sooner. But I don't regret meeting you as just me. I turned onto my side, facing him. I don't regret it either. Outside, the city hummed. Sirens passed somewhere far away, distant enough not to intrude. For the first time since I'd learned who he was, the sound didn't make me tense. I realized then that this wasn't about power, or danger, or even the uniform. It was about two people choosing transparency over comfort. Choosing each other with eyes open. As sleep crept in, I felt it settle, quiet, certain, unforced. Not an ending, but a solid place to stand before whatever came next. The first time someone called him, Officer Hale, while we were together, it caught me off guard. We were at a small diner on a Sunday morning, sunlight pouring through the windows, coffee cups already half empty. Cole was laughing at something I'd said, really laughing, shoulders loose, guard down, when a woman at the counter caught his eye. Officer Hale, she said warmly. Good to see you. Something in him shifted instantly. Not colder. Just aligned. He smiled, nodded, exchanged a few polite words. When she turned back to her food, he looked at me like he was checking for damage. You okay? He asked. I surprised both of us by smiling. Yeah. I think I'm getting used to the whole picture. He studied my face, searching for what I didn't say. Then he nodded, trusting me enough to let it be true. That felt like progress. Months passed. Not perfectly. Not smoothly. But honestly. There were nights he came over exhausted and silent, and I learned not to take it personally. There were days I pulled back, needed space, and he didn't chase or crowd me. We talked things through, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes late into the night, sometimes with long pauses that said more than words. The passion never disappeared. It just changed shape. Still intense, still censored and charged, but anchored now. Less about escape. More about connection. When he held me, it felt intentional, like a promise renewed quietly each time. One evening, as we lay together listening to the city settle outside, I realized something simple and unsettling. I trusted him. Not blindly. Not because of the badge or despite it. But because every day, he showed me who he was when no one was watching. The night that sealed it wasn't dramatic either. We stood on my balcony, city lights blinking below, cool air between us. He wrapped a jacket around my shoulders without comment. I leaned into him without thinking. You know, I said, staring out at the street. If you told me that first night, I might have walked away. I know, he said quietly. And if I had, I continued, I would have missed this. He tightened his arm just a little. Not possessive. Present. I'm glad you stayed, he said. So am I. We stood there like that for a long time, no rush to go inside, no need to fill the silence. Just two people who'd made a choice, not once, but over and over again. I didn't get involved with a cop that night at the bar. I got involved with a man I chose to truly know. And in the end, that made all the difference.